Yeah, then he called yesterday. I got these phone things for mom around. I was like, sucker. Yeah. I guess I didn't realize how much mom did for you.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, I could like to call the meeting to order for the tax rate hearing. It says Board of Education must approve the current tax levy each year prior to September 1st. Our tax levy for incidentals is currently 2.8189. Our debt service levy is 1.05 for total levy of 3.8689. Part of the tax levy, we're recommending an operating levy of 2.75 and a debt service of $1.05, which will be $3.80 as opposed to the $3.86.9 from last year. This time, do I have any public comment on the tax hearing? Okay, no public comment. We'll move on to the.
But I do have a question on it, Dennis. I guess
Sure.
if I can ask for comment from the board. So why aren't we setting it at the same rate? Now I'm going to plead ignorance. Why don't we set it at 28189 instead of 275?
Because we have a memorandum from the state auditor that
Okay.
says that the maximum we can charge is 2.75.
Okay, I got it. But just like, why do they, is it because property values went up? That's why they lower it? Okay.
And the auditor also make sure that you don't collect too much in taxes either. That would trigger the Hancock Amendment. Okay, I'd like to welcome all of our guests. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I could have a motion for that.
I move we approve the agenda as posted.
Okay, motion from Mark Baker. Second from Lori. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion carries. Agenda is approved. And one person that signed up for open forum, Carol Branson. Carol, you have 5 minutes.
It won't take that long. I attended the June board meeting and spoke to you regarding concerns on the issue of the school district and/or the Lynn Athletic Booster Club paying for the transportation and lodging expenses incurred when students succeed and qualify to participate in state level competitions. I proposed at that meeting a resolution to this seemingly controversial issue. My suggestion was for the board to enact a school policy in which it is stated the school district would be responsible for any and all transportation and lodging expenses if those costs are necessary for any individual student or student group to compete at the state level. I came back to the July meeting to see what your response to my comments would be. I was somewhat surprised when the response that was read at the July meeting only addressed the issue of a need for better communication between the school district and the Lynn Athletic Booster Club. Now, I wholeheartedly agree that there is a need for better communication between the two entities and definitely support your efforts to establish such. However, there was no response in what was read to my comments regarding the need for a policy regarding the payment of incurred expenses. I am not so egotistical to assume that just because I suggest policy, that means it is automatically going to be put into place. That is solely a school board responsibility and decision. But I do think an acknowledgement and response to my comments was in order instead of just ignoring it altogether. Because the discussion and adoption of such a policy as this is clearly an open session topic. I suppose I will just have to wait and see if it ever happens to appear on an upcoming meeting agenda at some point in the future.
Thank you, Carol. Okay. Moving on to approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the sub list, the list of contacts for DESI, and the eligibility criteria for free and reduced meals.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion from Ty. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second from Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion carries. Okay, approval of the minutes for the last board meeting. And the reason it's separate this time is because we have a couple members that didn't attend that meeting.
Motion to approve the regular open session minutes.
Motion from Naomi,
I'll second.
second from Sean. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Those that abstain, raise your right hand. 5-2. Abstentions by Ty and Lori. Approval of transfer and payment of bills. Anyone have any questions?
I just had a quick question. I noticed on there that there was 12,000 for purchasing Chromebooks. How many Chromebooks did we buy? Didn't we buy some Chromebooks last year?
That's 50 that we bought this year.
It was replacement Chromebooks because we were using 50 from an old cart. When we purchased them last year, we did not replace that cart, but those were no longer being supported. And so we did a replacement cycle. We probably will have to do a replacement cycle every year in order to keep the ones that we have up to date.
Okay, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
I move to approve the payment and transfer.
Motion from Mark. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Hannah. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Motion carries to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
And what's the life of those usually?
It depends. Google, what they do on the Chromebooks is every model has like a set end of life date that it will no longer receive updates after that. It'll still work essentially, but if there are like new features or something like that might not be supported, or they might not get security updates. Now, Chromebooks that you buy new now, they can be up to 5 or 6 years of support from Google typically. So they kind of push that out before it's a little bit shorter, but they kind of extended it a little bit. So it just kind of depends on the model.
That's what the kids use them. Scared. I was just scared.
And what we do with like those 50 is we recirculate some of those as loaners. So if a kid gets their Chromebook and needs to borrow one from the library, we put those in as loaners where they're not necessarily being used every day in case they aren't updated, but they still have a purpose.
I was just curious.
Okay, moving on to reports. Elementary reports. Casey?
Well, good evening. Our enrollment there is up a little bit. We're at 301, so we're actually 19 students from last year at this time. We have a whole full class. It's kind of surprising update. It really is. We held the health and wellness fair last week. Joyce Everett really was the spearhead of that and made that happen. That was on the 12th. It was well attended despite heavy heat that day and the storm rolling in. It was quick cleanup, right? And that was the epitome of teamwork at that point. But students that attended there received a free school shirt. They got school supplies, variety of resources, and there is a list on the back of many community entities that really supported that, came and showed up or sent things. It was phenomenal, really. It was a phenomenal community effort. Anybody who might be interested in a shirt, they're $10. If anybody want one, and Mrs. Everett make that happen for you. Preschool screening, we also held that in early August. We screened 38 children and sent letters home to them, giving some feedback to them on how their children are developing and some tips and information for them. Last year, one of the committees we had was a behavior committee. We really just looked at behavior in the building and how things were going. And one thing we wanted to do was try to establish some building-wide expectations. We get everybody on the same page. So they worked really hard last year. We got that done. We've got some posters made that we hang around the building, and then we'll have what they call a boot camp so that all the students can come together in the different areas around the building and learn about what the expectations are. So we just get everybody on the same page. So that's something that's in play now this year. Our at-risk, that was a new kind of position that we have this year. Our PE teacher is also going to be part-time at-risk and really just serve as a mentor to some students who really need a caring, loving individual who can be a partner to them throughout the week. And so we, have kind of looked at his schedule and established some times that he would be available to students. And Mrs. Everett and I work really closely together with him in kind of establishing how that's going to go. I do want to point out PTO. Our PTO is really moving and shaking, and I'm just really tickled with what they're doing. They have spent some time this summer painting out on the basketball court. They painted the fire truck. They purchased new basketball goals. We'll have 2 more basketball goals that are shorter, so our younger students will have some basketball goals to shoot at. They're playing they have 6 swings on the way too. They're playing a carnival in October, and just big plans for lots of things to really improve our school and to add to things. And so I just want to encourage any parent or guardian who would be interested in being a part of kind of that opportunity to impact the school and the students to join PTO. Ashley Moorfield is the president. And so email me, email her, reach out if you want to join, and we would love to have as many as wish to be a part of that. There's the list of all of the great volunteers and community groups that contributed to the wellness fair, and then some upcoming events there. Any questions?
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, thank you.
Middle school, high school report.
All right, the only thing I have to add is our enrollment continues to move up. We're actually at 322 now. And we've got a handful of students that called today that's coming tomorrow. So last week we did do open enrollment. Tomorrow we're having open house. If you drove our parking lot today, or tonight, you can see that we had juniors and seniors participate in painting the parking lots. So that was fun today. Not as many showed up today as we thought, so hopefully we'll get some more out tomorrow. Really not a whole lot to report yet. Week's getting ready to get started next week, and then we'll be full moving ahead. So right now everything's status quo. I got 2 great secretaries with Susan and Alice that's keeping me afloat and doing everything for me. So do you have any questions?
I was just going to comment that I did talk to a couple of high schoolers this afternoon that had been out of painting, and they enjoyed it a lot, and they were excited to meet you. So
It was a good group. It was a fun group. We had some parents out there too. It was a lot of females, not very many males. So it was gender led that way. So they're supposed to be pulling guys out tomorrow. I did have 2 gentlemen there, but they were just there for moral support. They didn't quite the paint yet. So I don't know if it's just because they were intimidated or what, but hopefully they'll bring some of their partners tomorrow and they'll participate. But it was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of them. We're excited. So I'm ready to get started next week with our first day assembly and doing some things different next week. So next report should be pretty exciting.
What was our enrollment last fall?
320, I think, last fall is right where you're at. So we're up a couple from there. Like I said, we're continuing to get, it's there, Shannon's working, trying to get and so Susan and Alice trying to get everything in, and I know we're waiting on some transcripts and some other paperwork, so I'm hoping to be up around the 3:30, 3:40 range by next week.
Athletic report?
Practice started last week on Monday for high school. Middle school started up next week. Big turnout for volleyball, 33. So we'll have varsity JV and a C team. Softball, we're at 13 right now. Cross country at about 18. Baseball, they added one yesterday, so I think we're at 18 now. Start events next week on Tuesday. So our first jamborees for softball, volleyball, baseball. And then after that week, start competitions. Some big things, big cross country meets on the 11th. Other than that, home games are listed on there. Schedule should be posted on the website.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill, do you have any initial observations? I don't think we've talked to you yet, have we? I don't think so. Any initial observations of Lynn in athletics?
Well, this year we were kind of young in athletics. Overall, solid program. Want to be out there doing stuff. Kids are out there, want to be active. Some youth programs would help them grow and be more developed by the time they get to high school level. For things like volleyball, but overall, they want to be there, they're willing to learn and willing to grow.
Very good.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
We did have our new teacher orientation today. So all of our new teachers were here today for orientation. They heard from me, Eric, mentor program, PD, central office stuff. They probably were a little inundated by the time they got finished, but it was a great group. We had a really good time. We went to lunch at Dave's. So great group we have out. Again, some of this is repetitive. Mr. JQ's open house is Thursday from 5 to 7, not tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry. One day ahead.
We also will be holding another vaccination clinic that night from 4 to 7. The health department will be here. They'll be giving back to school shots and COVID vaccines. So anyone is welcome to get their vaccinations on that night as well. They also did that at the wellness fair last week. So we appreciate their willingness to come out and support that and help us out. We did get our annual determination letter on our special education services for last year. The highest that you can get is a 4, which just meets requirements, and we received a 4 in every area with an overall score of 4. So congratulations and hats off to our spec folks because they did a great job there as usual. Again, I'm not going to reiterate the sports stuff because they already discussed that. Right now, as Mrs. Kingsley said, we screened 38 students for preschool. We're going to start with 17. We tend to leave a few spots open because if somebody moves in with special education needs, then we need to have a spot for them. You also have a list of all of our new staff members there. And as far as facilities, we'll go over the facilities report here in a little bit. Our maintenance and custodial crew has done a fantastic job this summer. I think at this particular moment in time, have the moisture issue in the middle school under control. So hopefully that's the last problem we'll have there.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion action items, item 8.1, maintenance and facilities report.
I'm not going to read through all of this because you guys have the report, but if you have questions about anything, as I said, these are the major things that they completed. I can tell you the custodians, well, and Steve, they have now thoroughly cleaned the middle school 4 times. So they have just really been working very hard to make sure everything is ready for the start of school and has completed all of the major projects. I know they still have basketball goals to install that just came in last Monday. Yeah. And then when the swing sets come in, they will be helping to install those. 2 of our very active PTO members have spouses who work for us, so those spouses keep getting volunteer help too, which is really nice. So they will be helping install the swing sets as well.
Item 8.2, third and final reading of regulations 1420, 2310, and 4320. Anybody have any input on those? No input. I need a motion to adopt those three regulations.
Make a motion to adopt the following regulations: 1420, 2310, and 4320.
Have a motion from Ty. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mark. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is adopted. Thank you. Item 8.3, roof bid.
You have a memo in your packet from Corey as far as what the process was that we went through. As you know, we solicited bids for the project on July 21st, held a pre-bid meeting on August 4th, and 3 contractors showed up at the pre-bid meeting, and then a 4th contractor requested a site walk through the later date and their later date. Bids were received on August 11th. A total of 4 bids were received. All 4 contractors that bid had also walked the site. The preliminary evaluation of the bids was performed and a review of each proposal with the 2 apparent low bidders after the bid opening. And so tonight we are looking for approval. Corey, anything you want to jump in and
Well, I'll mention that this is our bid tabulation sheet, just to walk you through it if you aren't familiar with it. We did confirm that we received the bid security and addenda, and then the base bid has to be added together with the performance and payment bond. We like to do that in case there's one performance and payment bond that's significantly higher than the rest. It kind of gives you a red flag to check for issues in their history to figure out why their bonding costs so much higher. But if you add those together, you get to the far right column, the total bids and bonds. We got Missouri Builders, where we range from 268,000 at Lakeside down to our low bidder at 123,000. We did have an alternate bid come in from Rudy's Roofing, which was a product that wasn't specified. They didn't have the performance payment bond unit prices in their bid, so they just have a lump number of $215,000. Comments or questions?
Is there anything different in the different bids about, I looked at some of them, but about their warranty and then how long they estimated the lifespan of the roof?
The Missouri Builders Lakeside Watkins all bid plan and spec. I believe we had a 30-year warranty on all that. Is that correct?
It's a 20, but it's a 20 with the option to renew it. Year 20 is it's been maintained.
But they are maintaining the same warranty between those three. The one from Rudy's is a separate product that they have a comparable warranty for 20 also.
So our recommendation is to go with Watkins Roofing as our low bid for the roofing project.
So on those 3 was materials were basically, I'm just trying to understand this because so the materials on those 3 bids was essentially the same product.
Yeah, it's the Liquidated by Garland for those 3 was the specified product.
Those total bid amounts includes some materials that the school is purchasing, majority of the materials. So those numbers don't actually include all the materials. The school's purchasing those through a purchasing,
Cooperative purchasing.
yeah.
Right.
So those numbers are just
So this,
partial, those numbers are the labor and
this is
summer
labor
numbers.
Labor, and then I think we identified 350 square foot of wet insulation to be removed from those as well.
So do we know what the material cost would be then? I mean, because then if that's the case, then I'm thinking that we really aren't looking apples to apples then, because the Rudy's roofing one probably is all in at 215, isn't it?
To tell you the truth, I'm not 100% positive on what's in Rudy's roof.
It does. Can I have a couple minutes to explain our system?
No, I think we, the problem with Rudy's roofing system is, one, they didn't bid for removing the insulation, the stuff that's wet underneath. Their system is the top coat over everything that's existing.
So one concern I have is the procurement method here. That product specified by Rudy's was not put out there to the owner to evaluate, it was not put out there for other people to bid. So it's a sole source, it's not a public bid product. That's a concern. If we want to do an alternate product, it needs to be submitted to the owner and reviewed with you guys and approved to be on the bid sheet. Then other people have the opportunity to bid it. If other people have the opportunity to bid it, it becomes an issue with procurement.
Did you offer an alternate bid?
What's that?
Did you all alter an offer? Did you offer an alternate brand if you did?
It's in it for you guys to make.
The way I understood it, you only offered Garland and you had to be with them for 5 years. And I know that if you close out competition, it violates state and federal statutes. That's what my legal advisor tells me.
So we actually answered the question in person with Matt. He asked that, and then you guys are good for this product to do the installation. We did everything we could to make sure it was inclusive, so everybody could bid.
no, our bid does include labor and materials and removing all wet.
So the material's not a top coat. I mean, it's replacing the roofing, it's putting, but it's not a single, I mean, is it a, what are we putting down?
We're putting down, they brought in a mock-up for you guys to look at. They're putting down a 2-coat system over top of the whole thing to get the 20-year warranty.
If you guys want to take a look at this, this is, get the base coat and then you actually we reinforce everything with polyester mat. So we're basically, we're doing a fluid applied membrane on top of what you guys have. We're removing the bad and then we're putting on the new membrane. It's monolithic, you guys can take a look at it. It's about, you guys have a 60 mil EPDM up there. It's coming up on 20 years, it's starting to split. So it's 60 mils thick. This finished product will be around 90 mils. So just want to pass that around.
You open the door. Go ahead and tell us what your product is.
Well, this is our consultant. This wasn't a contractor. You've our consultant.
You said we're open to explain our.
Hold on a
second. Who are you with?
I'm with Garland. I apologize. My name's
Okay, so
Jeremy. I'm with Garland Company.
You're with material.
So you
Okay.
asked the manufacturer to
Yeah.
represent their product.
I didn't know who you were, man.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I've got,
That would have been helpful. Thank you. No, you're fine. Dennis, did you say what?
Hang on a second. Want to hear about their product? Okay,
I can go either way.
go ahead.
Our product, we've been doing this for 25 years, Rudy's Roofing. It's a very similar product to that, it's just a different brand. We're also going to do the monolithic coating embedded in a mesh. It's just a different coating that we've never used that, but here's a little sample if you want to look at it. It's similar as far as the mesh embedded in two layers of coating. Like I said, we've been doing this for 25 plus years. We've done, a lot of different roofs in the area from different schools like Fatima. The library across the road, we've done most of Diamond Pet Foods roofs. So we've been around a long time. We're taxpayers, we're local, we'll be here for a long time. And our bid also includes a 20-year labor and material warranty. So if you would have a leak in the next 20 years, we wouldn't charge you $1 to come fix it. And you can talk with any of our customers, we don't charge anything for labor bids as well. I mean, our labor warranty, I'm sorry.
I believe that's the same as Garland too, correct?
Yeah, it is. And just to be clear, so Garland's been around 125 years. We also got a lot of local customers, and I'm not speaking to our Breeze at all. We don't have a relationship with them. We're kind of hoping to build one on this project, but it just doesn't work that way. But yes, we do. So we have a manufacturer, so it's backed up by our company. It's a no dollar limit. So if anything fails, we take care of that for 20 years, and we do have the option to renew it here 10. I don't think Conklin has a 20-year manufacturer's warranty. I don't know if that's a contractor that they're offering. I'm not sure, but that's how ours works. And we, throughout the process too, we have our own project manager that's out 3 or 4 times managing the contract, making sure that they're following the specifications.
We can get a warranty through our manufacturer, 18 years, and we offer additional 2 on our own. But our price does include labor and material, and I don't know what material costs for the other bids. And we don't do any cost overruns. You pay us $215, that's it.
Your bid doesn't address the wet insulation underneath.
I'm
reading it.
If you look in the 3rd paragraph, we also abide by all recommendations removing and replacing wet ice. I got 3 copies. I'll pass them around.
So we did ask Garland to compare. We wanted to know, I wanted to know what's the difference in the 2 products. I want to know the factual differences, the chemical makeup, mill thickness, the tensile strengths, tear strengths, elasticity. So I asked Garland to do a side-by-side comparison of their products. They put together a chart for you guys.
I didn't print it out. I can pass these around if you guys want.
Corey's got some.
Yeah. You guys got any questions for it? Yeah, obviously.
Did Rudy's Roofing provide a bid bond?
No.
My thought on this is if we could choose whatever path we want to go, but I don't think we can legally accept the Rudy's Roofing bid tonight because of the procurement, the way it was done. But that doesn't mean we can't rebid the project if that's something you guys want to do.
If we go with Watkins Roofing, do we have some idea what the material costs are going to be on top of that?
270 should come in right at 400. What we had stated the last one.
So the total cost will be around 400,000.
Yes.
Corey, so did Rudy's make a substitution request?
No. No, they did come and walk the job. I think the only question we got was spray the product. Is that the one you're looking for? Then everybody wanted to know how thick the existing insulation is because we had to bid to replace it, but we did not get a substitution request.
Would you normally get a substitution request if
Yeah, because the normal process is you get a substitution request and then you vet it, you discuss it with the owner, and the owner has to decide if they're going to accept that substitution before you receive bids. If you accept the substitution, then you go and you send that product information to everybody who's bid the job, so you can get a bid from everybody on both products.
And I talked with my manufacturer, and we've been customers of them for 25 years. They'll stand behind the work. I make a motion that we accept the Watkins Roofing there.
Yes.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept their bid.
Motion from Ty,
Little cost is gonna be twice as much. I can't help but wonder if it's better to go back.
I don't feel like I have apples to apples here, because I don't have the full story. I don't know what the full cost of the. I think
Say
John's
one
gonna-
is working for hospital and for hospital.
I think the big difference we need to look at here is the mill thickness of your guys' product is about 32 mils.
Somewhere around there, but I mean,
So we're looking at a 32 mil thickness roof compared to a 80 to 96 mil thickness roof. There is a significant difference causing the significant price difference. We're looking at a tensile strength for the product that was on specification. It's about 2,500 PSI. It's actually greater than that. That's the highest that test will go compared to the product that was submitted as an alternate is what we saw here was about 400 PSI. Is that right? Is that per layer and you add together?
well, and my mill thickness, I added a different mill thickness in my bid, where we usually 1.9 gallons. I do 2.5 for the base coat and 2 for the top. I mean, for the base coat and 2 for the top. And plus ours is really, I mean, on a rubber roof, our roof it's flexible. Like, I don't know, sometimes that product you brought up spec is a little bit harder and it tends to crack easier.
We did check the elongation on them, it measures that, and the Liquidate has a 450% elongation allowing it to stretch compared to the 340% for the benchmark. So I think we got that. But my point is that they're not the same product, so that makes a big difference in cost.
But for $200,000, I mean, our warranty's gonna, and we're local, we're gonna be, 2 miles away or a person an hour away. If anything goes. Another thing, ours is, we could probably, I mean, our guys, all we ever do is this system. I know like Watkins Roofing does a lot of rubber roofs. And they're gonna do it out in buckets. We get 500 gallon totes, 220 gallon totes, where our product is a little bit more streamlined.
But that's misleading though, because the 500 gallon totes is a single source product, right? It's approved. This product that the spec is a 2-part system that activates when you mix it together. So you can't get 2 500 gallon totes and start mixing it on the roof. That's why it's in buckets. So you have to mix it to apply it. I mean, but it's up to you guys to figure out if we need to do this. My only question would be, if we do go back out to rebid this, are there any other Conklin certified installers that can do the project?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah, is there?
And there, I mean, I know a guy next to them is very couple of us.
Or any of the Watkins, the Weathercraft, Missouri Builders, some of the other local guys that they Conklin.
is the product readily available to the other bidders?
Oh yeah, it's anybody that wants to.
In other words, who manufactures it?
Conklin. I mean, we were close to price, I would understand, but if you want to save a couple $100,000 for a very similar roof.
I do have to say, it's not, and again, I'm speaking about Conklin, the materials aren't similar. You have an acrylic base, which an acrylic is like very similar to the paint you put in your house versus a polyurea, which is a true water. When you mix the two parts together, they activate and you create that surface that you guys can feel on that mock-up. It's just a very different process.
I think I wish Rudy's would have done a substitute request. I mean, that would have been the right thing to do. So, I mean, that's the only thing I'm really kind of struggling with on this. Because otherwise I'd say rebid it, but I mean, there is a process.
And I will say, one of my concerns about going through the rebid process is every time it rains, our insulation gets more wet. So if we go through the rebid process, we're putting a project off longer as well. And we have some leaky spots on that roof. And I think the problem we have is just being bigger. So I would love to have this in before winter.
And our contract with Navigate is for one bidding process. It's not for a rebid process, so we have to provide more money to them to rebid everything.
I feel like we're talking about $200,000 here, though. I mean, I don't feel like I have enough information to make a decision. Because I don't have the the material costs.
They just told us that too.
It's two different materials. is the
Yes,
thing.
material for all the three of the items is exactly the same.
Which would be approximately. Pull it up here, I think it's 270.
Yes.
Yeah. The only difference is the Rudy's Roofing is putting on a different product than the other three are.
And they're including all the material.
Right. And they're including the material, whereas the other three, we have to. It's a different material.
But the material doesn't meet the same standards as the
That's what the
common material.
Yes. That's what we're getting at, right? The material there
I mean,
is not spec'd out the same as the material that we're using for the other three. Is that correct?
Yeah. We didn't have full specification for anything on Rudy's Roofing. We got the bids. I think you guys have in front of you is what we received on today for the documentation on the roof.
And that's what we asked for.
Um,
What I'm saying is, the bid that we asked for a specific material, correct?
Yes,
And these three provided that material that we asked, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, is
So
there?
yeah, they are cheaper, but it's a different material than what we originally asked.
I mean, I get that, but what would approximately the material cost be on this?
That's the 270,000.
The total cost of the Liquid was $277,506.
And we specified that we wanted that material because it's the one that's typically used or.
It's because it's one that we know has a performance record that we're familiar with and comfortable with that we recommend to a school district.
We did the two other schools in this county, Shmoy and Adamant, have our roofs on it, 20-year warranty.
We did, and we checked those references because Reese had put them on there. One thing I was not 100% understanding what was going on there, the failure of the hailstorm. Fire chief should know. What system was under that?
The roof in Shmoy, that was a foam, which is a little different from this. But that destroyed every roof in town. And we actually, the roof that we're proposing, which is similar to yours, that's what we did on the new Shmoy roof.
We know what material was used in the existing roof that we have and how long it's lasted.
It's an EPDM roof and it's 20 years old, but that is a single ply membrane. It's not a roll on product over an existing membrane. That's a different, altogether different. If we went back with something like that, tore off or replaced, the cost would be significantly higher. Both these systems are trying to maintain Japan.
That's right.
Can I add to that? Just if you're looking at what you guys have, an EPDM that's approved approaching 20 years. EPDM, a 60 mil EPDM, as it comes off the line and it goes to the ASTM testing, it has a per pounds per square inch, it has a rating of 1600. So now you're looking at another system, a coding system that's going to be on top of the EPDM, and it's starting to split up there. When we were up there doing our initial inspection, we had a 5-foot long split that we repaired. So at 1600 pounds per square inch is what it tests at, and we're coming up on year 20 and it's starting to split. Now we're looking at another system, Conklin, that's around 364, not even anywhere close to 1600. So we're putting a new fluid applied membrane on top of what you guys have that rates at 2,500 pounds per square inch. So what we're putting on there is actually almost, it's not quite twice as strong, but it's substantially stronger than the EPDM when it was brand new. So we're really, really enhancing the roof. Something that was 1,600 pounds per square inch is really limping in year 20. It's hard to imagine something that has that kind of tensile strength around 360 would make it that 20 years.
Well, and with we've been I'm a roofer, and I know these guys are, advisors, whatever you want to call them. I'm on a roof every day, and I can assure you our roof will last as long or longer than anything they're proposing. And, we're local, we're taxpayers, we would appreciate your business, but it's ultimately up to you guys. I can assure you that it will last 20 years. Our warranty is also, instead of the 2-year labor warranty like requested, we give a 20-year labor warranty. So there's no hidden cost in the next 20 years after year 2.
Yeah, that's equal.
I thought it said 2-year labor warranty.
From the contractor, 20 year from the manufacturer, labor and material. So that's the same.
Yeah, the only thing I'm kind of struggling with is next week, is somebody gonna walk up to me and say, you spent $200,000 more on a roof? Without really, because walking into this, I thought the material was in the other 3 bids. I did not know that the material was not included. And I guess I should have figured that out, but I didn't. That wasn't clear to me. But, and that's the only thing I'm struggling with is, I suspect at the end of the day, I'd still go with Watkins, but I don't want to be accused of misspending $200,000 of taxpayer money either.
Yeah, I get that, but I'd like to have a product. I asked. I don't do this again in 10 years, whatever.
Yeah. No,
we can get you a manufacturer's warranty straight from our company if you need that. The manufacturer. And we would, we're not planning to go out of business in the next 25 years, but if we would, what we did with we did all their roofs down there and they got a manufacturer's warranty. So if we disappear, Conklin takes care of that.
My question is, if you can provide a manufacturer warranty, why wasn't it provided with your bid?
What was that?
Why didn't you provide that information with your bid?
For one thing, it's more money, and I don't think you'll get a better warranty than the guys that are doing the job anyway. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of people come and go in this business. I've been doing it 20+ years. I've got schools in Iowa and all over the state of Missouri that I spec for, and I always leave it. When I make specs, I make it or equal. I'm not afraid of competition, and I don't get them all. I win some, I lose some. That's the way this business works. But if I can save you $200,000 if you're paying it out of your pocket, I guarantee you do it. I'm talking for yourself. It was your money.
And that is the thing, we are local taxpayers and we're planning to keep on paying taxes for many years. I noticed the ad did say you can reject or accept any or all bids, so.
even if we reject all the bids and start over and it's rebid, you have to bid what's specified. You have to meet the specifications. You have to meet the testing and the mills and all that. So how would you proceed with that? And then the next time, are you going to submit a bid bond and go through the proper bid forms?
What I usually do, I mean, we can provide a bid bond, but what we usually do is we don't require any money down, and you can wait to pay us till we're done.
But that's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, we can get a bid bond. I mean, we've got insurance companies that work with us. We've done it very often. It's just usually, if we can save you guys a little money, by getting the warranties and all that before you pay us. But
all of those contractors will supply.
yeah, we'll get a bid bond, and we won't, I mean, it's usually 2 to 3%. We wouldn't charge you for that. That, if you need a bid bond, that'll be included in that cost.
Bid bonds don't cost anything.
What was that?
Bid bonds don't typically cost anything.
I mean, that's what I'm saying on the high end. We would provide it for you at no additional cost.
I think Ms. Cole's trying to say was, there was a procedure that wasn't followed. Bid bond is 5% of the bid, submitted with the bids, and it's a bid security. And at the end, it's returned to everybody. It's just a, so the thought is, though, there's a procurement policy we have to follow. There's certain items we have to submit that aren't submitted. So I think tonight we have 2 options. Either we accept one of the 3, Missouri, Lakeside, or Watkins, or we throw everything out and start over. So in my mind, that's the only 2 options we have that would meet the procurement guidelines.
Corey,
Just piggyback, I'm sorry, Sean, to piggyback on what Corey was saying, I also, and this goes back to what Naomi was kind of asking Ruby's, some of the other things that were not included in the work packet that we have to have. Affidavit for work authorization, the current signed W-9 certification regarding Israel, completed vendor information form. Those were all things that were supposed to also be in the bid that were not part of Ruby's. And most of those are required by statute. We have to have those. So it's a very incomplete bid.
And that is stuff we can get to you guys. I knew our bid was gonna be the roof that you specified, that's why I gave an alternate.
But if those are things you can give to us, I think one of the questions is, why didn't you do it as part of your bid packet when that's what we requested?
I mean, if you would, tonight or in the future, accept the roof bid, we could have all that to you before you sign a contract and give us.
And I really am not trying to be contrary, but I think part of what Naomi's saying is everybody else did that by the bid deadline. We had a bid deadline, all of that was supposed to be.
Well, I knew I couldn't sign off on everything because we're not using their product.
Those
I figured if I
forms don't
sign
have
everything-
anything to do with the
Yeah,
product.
those forms aren't about the product at all.
Corey, is bid bond state statute?
I have to double check that. I think there's a dollar amount where.
I think it's like $25,000 or $40,000. It's a fairly low,
But yeah,
okay.
I think there's
It's a fairly low number.
Once you get above that, then it becomes. There's a lot of things that, I think once you get above 50, you're required to have reports of payment. Below that, you aren't. There's tiers that you start hitting.
Where do we think we are?
Well, I have a motion.
We have a motion right now, so we have to figure out what it
That has to be a second.
We need to second that or.
We can second or you got to repeat yourself.
I'll second the motion. Further discussion?
I am struggling a little bit. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it wasn't a responsive bid. I mean, from the standpoint, there should have been a substitute request and bid bond payment and so on. Instead, it's still $200,000.
It is extra money, but that's what we asked for, though. I mean, they're giving us a product that we asked for.
Tennis shoes to Walmart tennis shoes. Looking at pairs of shoes, but they're
Yeah, we're the
two
ones.
different, completely different quality.
Well, I think it's, I mean, we wouldn't be using their product for over 25 years if it was before.
I'm
not saying
we're
your
not saying your
product
product
doesn't
doesn't
perform, I'm
perform.
saying it doesn't
It
meet
doesn't meet what we were asking.
Sure.
So
And
that's where we're at with it,
And
really.
Garland has been known to do that in schools, because it does cost a lot more money. I mean, it's kind of like driving a Cadillac with all the bells and whistles, with a Cadillac with a less. Saving
So we, locally, we work with Columbia College, work with the University of Missouri. We just did a project with the Bloomfield. We work with the 3 biggest districts in St. Louis. This is all taxpayer funded projects. And they know that they're paying a little, they know they're paying more, but they're getting what they paid for. They've been through enough projects, they've been through enough substitutions with different materials that they know at the end of the day, when you're saving a little bit today, 10 years down the road, it may cost a lot more. We've been around, like I said, we've been around 125 years. This product up against other products that meet its performance standard, I'm also not scared to go head to head with those products. It's just different chemistry that's built to last. And we do have those warranty extensions at year 20, which this group does not have a lot of equipment on it. Doesn't have it has great slope at year 20. If it's maintaining and it's still working, we're going to add 10 years to it. We can do that twice. The second round, it's going to require a little bit of maintenance, maybe on the base flash, but you could potentially be looking at a 4-year roof. We're going to write it right out of the gate at 20 years with a no dollar limit. That's backed by the manufacturer. I hope that gives you guys a little bit of comfort. And I have reference letters from the University of Missouri, Columbia College, a lot of these bigger entities that I just named. I have reference letters. You guys will like to see those.
We offer recoat too. We just did the Glasgow school roof a couple years ago. That was the second time. That was a recoat. We did their entire school. The second time at the end of the warranty, and we gave a brand new warranty. So that's something we offer too. It's a very similar product. I've been, in the roof coatings industry our company's been in for over 25 years. I can tell you, Conklin's been doing the roof coatings about as long as anyone.
I have a hard time spending $185,000 more when the other bidder, if you're standing on this roof, you can probably see their building. And there's some value to me in having someone that is nearby. Was this handled correctly? It doesn't appear so. I don't know if maybe throwing it out and doing a rebid is the right thing to do. But that's a lot of money to be spending if it's a big difference.
Now rebid's gonna take time and the price of the products will probably go up in that time also. And there's possibility.
$185,000 worth?
Yeah.
The availability of the material, do you guys know if the material is available? I know we run into a lot of material shortages lately.
Yes, so pending tonight's decision, Garland was set up to issue the purchase order to start production. And we're told, we've set it up in those bid documents that we start, I have to double check, it's like middle of October. It gives you a 6 to 8 week window to manufacture properly, make sure it's all ready to go.
Just concerned if you push it off, we have a lot of material shortages because epoxy and
That's not the concern, more the concern would be the insulation underneath it. And since we're only doing 350 square feet, it's less of a concern. That product is near impossible to get rid of.
So when was construction supposed to start? I mean, what are the schedules, or did we provide a schedule? I mean, I think we
Yes,
said something about 3 weeks, but I didn't know if we said when.
Yes, I did. On here, we showed Those were received August 19th, material provided by the district October 11th, and then substantial completion November 1st. So really October 11th and November 1st was the actual construction.
Okay. And Watkins didn't indicate any issue with that timeframe. And then there was a liquidated damage. Did I read that somewhere?
Yes. I can check the dollar amount on there. I think here's the concern with the damages. I think it's like $500 or $1,000 a day. It's not a lot. It's been struck down in court of law recently. You have to be able to justify.
It's an act of God with COVID.
Yeah. Well, no, not that, but we can't just arbitrarily give her first year, here's a bill for $500 a day. You have to show how you're incurring that cost if they're recouping. It's not a penalty. It's a damage.
You can't use the roof or, but that said, if the leaks in your building, then you've got suffering a loss.
A cost incurred because of it, that covers. If you don't have a cost incurred, then truthfully, liquidated damage will get thrown out. That's something that actually just started at the Orange Grounds about 3 years ago. It's spreading throughout the market pretty fast.
Anything else? I have a motion and a second. All in favor of Watkins Roofing completing the contract, raise your right hand. 4. Those opposed, raise your right hand. Opposed, abstain. 1. Motion carries. Bid goes to Watkins Roofing. Okay. Moving on to 8.4, approval of Navigate Task Order 2 for the AC heating and air conditioning system.
We do have to bid this project out because it falls under the guidelines of a major repair. And so it is required to bid out, so the whole 9 yards. One of the things that Navigate is proposing as part of their task order is, and before I jump in if I'm wrong, they're gonna come in and investigate the issue for us as well to see what really needs to be done. We developed another issue last week in addition to the corrosion issue that we showed last time. We have pipes that are sitting right on top of pipes, and it's a very tight fit. So when the system turns on and those pipes vibrate over time, they rug a hole. So we had a leak in the upper elementary last week that drained our whole system, and we had to fix that leak last week because there was a hole in the pipe where it vibrated and rug a hole. So we've got a couple of different issues going on here, and Navigate will come in and help us.
So you guys have a VRF system on the majority of this building. This room doesn't itself, but that means in each room you have an internal controls with a unit in the ceiling that has refrigerant flowing to that, maybe fluid flowing to that. The galvanic corrosion, where you're having dissimilar metals connecting that pipe, is starting to corrode over time. There should have been something called a dielectric union everywhere you have or dielectric fitting, everywhere you have a dissimilar metal connecting to avoid that corrosion. So that was the one thing that I've heard about, and it sounds like it's gonna be at least every unit we have in here. And then I don't know if it goes to I don't know for sure what else, without getting above ceiling, see what else touch. The pipes rubbing I learned about an hour and a half ago. So that's a new one to me. I haven't been above your ceiling. What we put together here is a task order to go through. We are gonna have to bring in a mechanical engineer. We're gonna have you guys review some mechanical engineer qualifications and pick a mechanical engineer to have them do a fully designed fix and stamp it, because you're gonna need an engineer to make sure the system is up and operational 100%. We need to go in though and investigate, figure out what we need to do, what needs to happen here. This is gonna be a phased fix. This building, those condensing unit, or not, yeah, they have 3 condensing units that feed each one of those cassettes in the ceiling. So your building is broke up into 3 different zones. So I think we're going to have to shut down a third of this building at a time, drain the whole system, do all the repairs, fill the system back up, restart it up, and then do the next one. I'd be afraid to shut down the whole building all at one time, not knowing how long it'd be down. I'm more apt to go with the phase system where the building kind of let alone. But that's what we're looking at. And I put in here next summer. The thought was if we're shutting the building down, hopefully we do all the investigation this fall, get something prepped for a bid package, bid it out in about March or so, make sure we see where the material cost actually lands. If we bid it in March and get somebody approved, they can start gathering the material and be ready to go. So when school ends in May, they can start June 1st. So the construction portion would be June, maybe roll into July.
So that's in this building.
It's a 7-year-old building.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
What kind of warranties did we have on?
Yeah, what kind, do we not have a warranty on that?
This isn't a parts issue, this is an installation issue, and there is no warranty on installation. Now, I have reached out to the company, I'm not getting very far.
Who's coming?
And part of the reason that I don't get very far is we signed off on the punch list. We signed off that the installation was adequate.
When
And
you
so,
say you reach out, is that the installer you're reaching out to?
Who is the installer?
TMI,
Yeah, we'll see if Neil heard that, TMI.
I've never heard of them before.
and I've even reached out to our school attorneys to say, okay, what, do we have any legal repercussions here? And they basically said we would probably spend more in legal fees trying to get somewhere because, again, it's not that they didn't, as we know it so far. Corey and his crew may find something different when we get up there. As we know it right now, they installed it the way it was scoped out. It's just that it wasn't necessarily a high quality installation. But it's not that they didn't.
That was a tough thing for me. I mean, we saw the parts last time and those look like dielectric fittings to me. But something, it looks like something somewhere is not right, obviously. I mean, there's corrosion, but if you look at them, they look like they're a plastic ring compression fitting. And I couldn't see what the issue was, but clearly there's an installation error. Or the engineer spec'd it incorrectly. I mean, somebody is at fault because an AC system doesn't fail in 7 years.
If that's the case, and there are dielectric fittings, now my mind starts running to pressures. Do we have something set up the condensing units right? Is the system running at the right pressure, or we over pressurizing the system that the fittings are failing? But I don't know.
I mean, there's corrosion on the outside, which then makes me, but the corrosion on the outside. Corrosion on the outside would say you have a dielectric issue. Unless it's been leaking for a long time.
Yeah, it's on the outside of the pipe creating the corrosion.
Maybe cause the corrosion, I don't know.
Just a different problem if he has pipes making
Make sure everybody's
contact
aware
now
that
too.
was my mechanical
Now it's an easy
professor.
fix. You throw a little. The rubbing of the pipe doesn't bother me. You throw a little insulation in there and you call it good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a big
Or
deal.
clamp it.
If they're not damaged, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't be a big issue.
I just don't necessarily know how else to go about assessing the problem and figuring out a solution without having.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna have to go in and look at it and figure out what's wrong. So even if it is something that we can go back and
Right,
complain about, at least we know what it is.
right.
I got you.
And we could start there, figure out what the problem is, reach back to the original design team, the original engineers, show them what we found, try to find the original specs, and see if what we found meets the specs, and have that conversation with TMI, and see what, truthfully, we're beyond the 12-year contractor warranty, so it's going to be a tough discussion with them, but just to, if we could point out some blatant errors, we might be able to get some assistance.
For 7 years.
7, this building's 7.
It's 7 years old.
Yes.
But I said the subcontractor warranty is typically 1 year, the contract warranty.
Oh, you said 12 years.
You said 12.
You said 12 years.
Yeah, 12 keep out of your mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
12, that's what I was
12 months.
I know I'm not that good at math.
No, it should have been 12.
12
months,
is more than
1 year.
7 last time I
So
checked.
the contract warranty is only 12 months or 1 year.
Yeah,
And this
okay.
building's only 7 years.
I was
Yeah,
like, wow, they gave you a 12-year contract or something?
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Speaking
But
faster than I'm
the
thinking.
design professional is gonna have a longer,
Yeah, we're gonna
longer
go
on
back to them
him.
and see.
I mean, if they spec it wrong, but that may only, what is that, 5 year or 10 year?
We'd have to go back and see what AIA you're under. But
Okay.
then we're only looking at an insurance claim at most of them. They don't have the ability to fix it either. It'd be an insurance battle with them.
Sure.
Errors and omissions.
Mhm.
So we use you, you'll look into it and at least tell us what's going on first
Yes.
before we get it out.
So now, I came out here today, and Woodman Engineering was out here. I think that's who it was.
Butzer was.
Butzer, yeah.
Yeah,
They were
that's
just doing preventative maintenance today on the system. We have a preventative maintenance where they come in just for this building because it's so technical.
That's that VRF system. VRF systems are typically a little more, less maintenance friendly, less difficult to maintain.
They were pulling the filters out all the overhead units, washing them and putting them back in.
Now, they were here last week repairing the leak that was
Okay.
on the upper elementary. I told them I'm gonna give them their own office.
So Cory, does your fee include any fee that the mechanical engineer is gonna charge?
No, we need to sit and negotiate with the mechanical engineer and see what but we're gonna minimize their scope to go through and do the investigation. Really, you're not gonna know a fee from them until we have them just see what the design for the fix will be, how many hours they have in the design.
And we're only paying you what you use for hours. I mean, if we get in
Yes,
10,
sir.
if we get 10 hours into this and,
Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna get paid when we walk away from the job. No, it's only what we put into this. And I think is there an hour spreadsheet on here?
Yes.
I can show you where we put the hours and how we came up with it.
'cause I think we did get a cost to fix the fitting issue, and you're charging us about 26%.
Okay, I did not see that cost. I didn't know that. So we
It was a
figured
verbal.
just August, I figure if we get the approval today, we may have a day in it in August, just starting to go through the code, the documents, understand the whole system. And then next month, we'll be starting that investigation and really get somebody, I guess, then March should have been part of that too, that investigation as well. That's where we're gonna be heavy, is between September and March. I do have a lot of hours in June of next summer for a project manager or a construction inspector to be out here ensuring that what we're putting in is a recreate the situation. You know, we're gonna have somebody out here, I wanna say I had them 4 hours a week. Is that right? No, 10 hours a week. I had them 10 hours a week, 2 days a week out here, watching the installation. We had 43 hours per month. If you guys want to reduce how much we're watching the construction inspection, we can pull back those hours drastically.
Well, can we do that based upon what the error is they find? I mean, if it's just
Yeah, 'cause
replacing a
there's
bunch
lot
of
assumptions
fittings,
that
you're
we're
gonna go
have to
through,
touch
your
everything.
guy's not gonna look, I mean, you're gonna come through after the fact and say, yeah, looks like they installed it okay. That just seemed like a whole lot of hours to me.
We can, let's set it up through April then, the investigation, the bid out, and then once we know what the actual construction is, we can figure out what the construction hours are gonna be.
Yeah, I feel better about that for now.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
way
'cause
until we
there's-
know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
because what if we say, hey, let's not do that, whatever.
And we also run the risk that, not the risk, run the potential benefit that we walk through this and the issues that you found may be isolated. We only have that happen a couple more times and hopefully not the whole building.
Yeah.
Right now, we're having to assume the whole building, so it could fall on the better side of where it's not be widespread.
Now, don't be putting that out.
I'm just trying.
You are, I'm already mad at you
optimistic.
guys. You got people talking, don't tell me who you are, so let's not. Let's love it up more, just stop.
I'm kind of trying to just refigure real fast for you if we just did the hours through April.
I can draft that. We've done similar scenarios for this, to where you guys will state that, just the hours shown in the spreadsheet through April, and I'll draft the task order for Tina to present to you guys.
Just to give you a ballpark though, and I did it really fast, it'd be about $9,900.
But that wouldn't necessarily figure out the problem because you haven't hired a mechanical engineer yet.
No, inside of that, we need to hire a mechanical engineer and get their fee, yes.
On top of the 9,000.
So they'd be on top of, it'd be on top of it, okay.
And in this area, I can tell you we've had a lot of luck with MMEA, if you guys are familiar with MMEA, for similar issue to this at South Callaway School District. Okay.
What else do we have coming up as far as construction goes?
These are the two major projects for this year. We will have the track, but that's more than likely going to come out of next fiscal year. So these are the two major projects for this year. We have about $63,000 budgeted just for some little, we have some lease purchase agreements that we have to pay on this year as well, and we do every year. So. By the time we finish with the roofing project, we should still have around $240,000 left in Fund 4. And so then if you take off what we have budgeted for those lease purchase payments, we end up around in the ballpark of $180,000 left this year. That's not using any ESSER money, any CARES Act money. And it's before we make any Fund 1, Fund 4 transfers.
And we had originally planned on using that.
Yeah.
Track, so we would just not have the full 250 all over the next year for track and cost.
We're wanting to set this up for what months? June, no, like
Through April.
through April, right? So I'm saying if we make a motion, we agree to accept them through April. And then in April, I guess we'll have to reevaluate after what they come over.
Is this going to, how is this gonna function, like, hopefully the weather cooperates, but like this next month, it could be pretty brutal. Like, how's it gonna be in here?
Right now, it's functioning. So as long as we don't have another leak, we're up and running in every area of the building right now.
And if you don't have a leak, it should not affect your performance.
Okay.
The concern is you have a leak, it drains
Or
part
like-
of the system. potentially.
Just curious.
And what Corey's saying too is if we end up having to do a major repair in June, we'll have to take down a third of the building at a time because we'll have to work that around summer school. So we're gonna have to do a third of the building, figure out where we're gonna do summer school, do a third of the building, you know.
You could potentially go less, but it's gonna cost more if you do less because they have to more time to drain and
Yeah.
fill the system up. So
We'll make
it's
it
set
work.
up in thirds right now. My recommendation would just be the biggest chunk that you can get.
Right. We'll definitely work that.
I make a motion to use Navigate task order 2 through April. That sound like it should be? Okay. Got it. Yeah, I think I got it.
We have a motion from Ty. Second. Second from Lori. Any other discussion or questions?
I guess you'll rewrite up that.
Yes.
You'll-
he'll
you'll
write
I'll
up
write
the
you a new
agreement.
task order 2, and then if we do anything in June, it'd be task order 3, completely separate.
Sounds good.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, that motion carries. Thank you.
So then the roof will start October 11th, like planned most likely.
Yes, now that we have the approval tonight, they need to issue or order the documents through their effective order the material through their warehouse and suggest that we get it by October 11th instead of April by then.
All right. Thank you.
You know, how we're gonna watch this, I'll draft the notice of receipt and the contract and get it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the tax levy that we talked about during the tax meeting. And that was 0.75.
I move we approve the tax levy for 21-22.
Okay, I have a motion from Sean. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Ty. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
I have a question. Is 2.75 the highest that we can go then?
Yes.
Okay, because I was trying to read this worksheet and understand it, and
It's interesting.
Yeah.
The worksheet is, yes.
You're talking
so,
about the one from the auditor?
yeah, so the one from the auditor, the bottom line said 2.7891. But I might not be reading this right at all, so.
Yeah, 2.75 is the maximum that we can go. It's also the minimum that we can go, so it's
There's not much room.
not much room.
Is that because the assessed value went up enough that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so that if I ask these questions now, then maybe you will understand it. So,
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion carries. Okay, approval of the bus routes.
We have to do this annually, approve our bus routes. Joe gives me this information, so we just have to approve the routes.
They're the same routes as last year. Nothing's changed.
We were in 9 routes.
Make a motion, we approve the bus routes.
Motion for Sean. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Ty. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Bus routes are approved. Special development plan.
Samantha Slinkman is our PDC chair, and so she is the one who is responsible for updating the professional development handbook annually. You do have a copy of that in your packet, and we just have to approve that handbook every year.
I make a motion to approve the professional development plan.
Have a motion from Ty. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Okay, the mayor conference board policy says that board members can't attend conference unless approved by the board. The mayor conference is going to be in October. So if anybody's available, would like to go. The other thing they offer at the mayor conference is if any of you new board members would like to go to in-person board training, that's available during those days too. So you actually have classroom time where you can ask questions, and it's probably more of a learning experience than the online version. At this time, just for anybody to go, we need a motion from the board. And the motion usually to allow any board members that so desire to go.
Make the motion, we allow any board members who desire to go to the mayor conference to go, or whatever we
Attend.
attend.
Okay, a motion from John,
Second.
second from Ty. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
If you do decide to go to that, just, if you want to just let our office know, we will be happy to make the reservations for you and send it all in and pay for it on the district credit card and whatnot.
Is that separate than, when I was looking at their website? So go this route if I'm gonna go to this training, let you know.
Yes, and just let us know, we'll be happy to do that for you.
Now, if you go to the board training, it's classroom training, they have a couple of regular instructors that go through everything, and then they have a lot of people. And you also have the opportunity to attend some of the conference events, the dinners, and
Look like the only in-person one that MSBA has is in Kansas City later. So, okay, I think I've read the in-person one.
Yeah, just let me know for sure, Mark, and we'll get you registered.
Okay, moving on to facility agreement forms.
Okay, so what we basically need to decide on this facility agreement form is whether or not to keep the paragraph that says that they're gonna provide insurance. I reached out to some local insurance agents, and to keep that, or for that level of insurance, it's gonna cost anywhere in the mid $300 range. So I contacted Music again and said, okay, what do I have to have this in there? And Music is our insurance provider. And they said, well, we definitely recommend leaving it in there because it's another layer of protection for the district. If it's not in there, the district assumes all liability if there's a claim. And so I said, what do you mean we assume all liability? So is that on the district itself or does our insurance pick that up? And they said that our insurance would pick it up, but then you just take the chance of it raising your insurance rates. The whole harmless part of the agreement that's in there does provide a layer of protection. They recommend this for another layer of protection, but it's not something that is required to be in there. So I just need you guys to let me know if you want to take that out, and then I can take it out and you can approve the forms next month or leave it in.
They're suggesting leaving it in.
They do suggest leaving it in as another layer of protection. They said if there is a claim and, you know, they win that claim, the district's insurance would pick it up. It's just that then our insurance rates would raise.
But they wouldn't raise if we just took it out until we had a claim.
Unless we have a claim.
That's interesting.
That is.
But they agreed to lower it to 1 million for
1 million.
external, but
Yes.
they still will, I'm sure we have several million on ours.
And I did, one of the things that we had in there was that they couldn't use the weight room or the batting cage. And I did take that out based on our discussion last month. So I just need to know how you want to proceed, and then I can make that change and we can approve it next month.
So as I was looking at this and thinking about it, and I mean, the example we always use is the chess club.
Right.
So can we, if we make the chess club a school affiliated club, does that take care of that issue for the chess club?
Yes, I would just, I don't know. Yes, the answer to that is yes. I just have to,
I don't know if that's a big deal or,
I don't know either. I would have to investigate that, and I'd be more than happy to do that. I just don't know the answer. off the
because
top
I
of
would
my
think we could take almost any group and make them affiliated, but I don't know what the rules
They have to
are.
have a school.
I don't know.
They have to have an employee of the school
Right.
be their sponsor.
Right.
As of right now, the person that is their sponsor is not.
Non-employee, so you'd have to make an employee the sponsor, but then you could still use a non-employee
As a
to,
volunteer.
as a volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah,
You could work around it.
and the only other thing is they would have to, if there's any MISA rules that they're not following, they'd have to follow them, which that probably shouldn't be a problem anyway.
Or something like that.
Because I believe they have competed at MISA once.
I don't know that they competed at Mission once. I know that they competed at some. I don't know that they.
Well, they went to some state.
They went to state.
They went to state. No,
Well, we don't have them right now on Misha as a organization.
well, then I
They
don't
went
know.
somewhere
They
and
went
they
to
called
some
it
state and they called it state.
I mean, I'm guessing it's like Vex Robotics or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
or third
Oh,
party.
maybe that's what it was.
Billy, do you know it? I mean, I don't know. Do you
Just,
know?
I don't know. I didn't put that.
I was gonna say, I don't know. either.
If we were to take the requirement for insurance out, and the majority of the teams that use the facilities have insurance, if something were to happen, their insurance would still cover it.
Yes.
Yes.
So we would only have an issue if we allow other teams, if there's a couple of them, and one of them actually had an incident and they're actually with a claim.
Or individuals. If
Right.
individuals. Okay.
Which I don't know how likely that is either, right, or if we're comfortable with taking that risk. or not.
That's why you guys get to make that.
I think we should always err to the side of trying to let the community use our facilities as much as possible because this is a public institution. We need to encourage the public to use our facilities. That the public pays for.
That's true too.
I guess my example that's always in my head is when I was in 8th grade, I played on a basketball team and we practiced out here and there were kids from Lynn, St. George, Fatima that played on the basketball team. We practiced out here and it was no big deal. And I think about stuff like that and I know that goes on at lots of high schools and lots of places. And I think that that's a good thing. And any sort of opportunity for our kids to play in sporting events, we should encourage. Do I think that those groups, we need to have full tabs of them and know who's here on Wednesday night at 7:30 or whatever, but I want to make it as streamlined as possible and simple for those people to use our facilities. And maybe I just don't, I've not coached one of those teams. They may have the liability insurance they need.
Typically, if they're part of an organized league, they do through the league that they're in. It's just if you get into individuals or a team that just wants to play a pickup game or something like that.
So we still have that issue. I mean, if an individual comes in and wants to practice at the gym, the way we have it now, they'd have to get insured. I think,
I mean, you could always honestly take it out. We may never have an issue. Yes, if we do,
we add it back
we
in.
discuss putting it back in. I mean.
And so the hold harmless is new verbiage, or that
no,
was in there
hold
before?
harmless has
It was all
been
made there. Okay.
I just asked, somebody asked the question last month, it might have been Hannah. If we had the hold harmless in there, why do they need insurance? Because the hold harmless should hold harmless. And the insurance company said it is a layer of protection, but it's still not, I mean, they can still come back and file a suit. They may not win it, but you'll have to fight it.
I don't know. I'm okay striking it. Insurance requirement.
Any objections to taking it out? Any more discussion?
Now go ahead, take it out.
All right, I'll take it out, revise them, and bring them back for approval next month.
Okay.
Let's maybe, how many times have we seen this?
The facilities plan, I know, I'm kind of tired of looking at it. I'm sure you all are too.
Okay, item 8.10, adopt a model compliance plan for special education.
So for those of you who are new to the board, we have to have a compliance plan for special education, and our options are adopt the Missouri State Model Compliance Plan or write our own. Nobody in their right mind wants to write their own compliance plan. So, but every year we have to re-adopt the model compliance plan for the state of Missouri.
I move we adopt the model compliance plan for special education for the 2021-2022 school year.
Motion from Mark,
Second.
second from Ty. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Motion carries. Football program update.
I just wanted to put this on there so we can kind of all know where we are and what progress. I'm gonna let Mr. Jake Hughes. I don't know that Mr. Garrett's been to a meeting yet. Well, he went Sunday night to the booster program. I'm gonna turn this over to them. How about?
We're moving forward. We're having another meeting tomorrow night. I didn't attend the one in July, but got feedback on that. Sunday night, the booster or the football committee proposed to the booster club for them to be adopted underneath their 501. That was approved, so school will have to finalize on that. We did get goalposts in today. We've got a new sled ordered, or actually got that. Mr.
On the green
Strong brought
bus.
it back on the bus. So we're moving ahead. We've got equipment coming from Viking sports for our September 7th and 9th camp. I think Coach Sampson got, I think we got, how many flyers were there in spots today? Yeah, I mean, probably close to 20 kids are already signed up for his camp. And we talked to the football committee there. We did waive the waiver signature off that form, and we did that on purpose because we want those parents having to come and sign that waiver form that very first night, so those football boosters can get in front of them and try to get some volunteers and try to get our fundraising going. So I think roughly right now, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think we're right around $77,000 is what we raised. And our goal is to be between 100 and 120,000, which is very doable. Ralph, the surveyor, came out and surveyed the field the other day, and I was totally wrong. I thought it was all messed up, and we're actually within 10 inches of being crowned perfectly, and the only down spots we have are down by the drain. So all we need to do is bring in some topsoil and then proceed on seeing what we need to do with that. If we want to plug it and reseed it, if we want to till it up and then reseed it all over, but it's actually in pretty good shape. The drain system, when you get into the track and stuff, how you want to do that, that will be another obstacle. I think right now we've got Russellville on the schedule. Coach Sampson's going to verify that tonight. So September 6th should be our very first middle school game next year, 2022. And then we're getting going.
What date was that?
September 6th. Is right now, Russellville said they would be our first win, so that's what.
Hey, one of you two's gonna have a win that night.
That's
what I'm
right,
saying.
that's right, so,
There will be a win for somebody.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
mean,
Russell-
there's still, tomorrow night, we're having another football booster meeting. Everything seems to be going pretty good. Like I said, we lucked out that we found these sleds and the goalposts. The goalposts actually are from MU. We were thinking if we needed to extend them, but we played and kicked through college goalposts, so it's not a huge deal. I would prefer just go ahead and fit the goalpost as is instead of adding another 18 inches to it. I think it would just look better. Go ahead and put them up the way it is. Know that they're come from Faroe Field. And what better way to kick it off than we've got Faroe Field? So it's kind of cool. We're moving forward.
I know one of the questions was practice field. Has anybody determined where that's?
Those are still up for negotiation. We were kind of thinking maybe that dead area back behind the ag building. We're gonna get some people out there to see. If not, the fairgrounds where there was originally, I guess, a whole practice field up there, so we were looking at that. It was proposed to kind of maybe do it up there around the cross-country course, but I suggest to leave that alone, just because the more people, the less people you disrupt right now. But I think the last time we thought we were gonna look back there and see. If we're just 7th and 8th grade right now, really using the game field's not, this first year's not gonna be a huge deal. It's just down the road. I am gonna propose tomorrow night that we project to start varsity football 2024. So after a third year, I've got that worked out on how we can still do it. We can still have seniors that would actually have a year of experience if we did that. If we added the next year at 7th, 8th, and 9th, and the following year at 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And then even the 11th graders that second year, and then that third year we'll have 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Everyone will have at least 1 year of experience underneath their belt. I think to help us raise money and to really get it kicked off, the sooner we can get Friday nights here, the better off we'll be. And we're already a little bit ahead of the schedule right now, where we're already got, I'd say close to 20 kids signed up for a camp already. Where normally when you start football, you don't get this head start like we have, already have Coach Sampson here and getting going. So we're gonna have a 3-day camp. I thought it was before basketball, but it really wasn't. But Coach Ham's going to work with us. And then we're going to do another one after the basketball, JV, or after junior high basketball, and then in the spring too. And then in the summer, we'll have a couple camps. So basically, they're already going to have a season underneath their belt before we get going. So.
And then right now, all of the purchases will go through the booster club.
Everything's going through the booster club as of right now. We've, the 19 kids that are playing flag football reached out, and they're gonna have a flag football game and maybe use our facilities to try to spark some interest on that. We're gonna look at that, the legality standpoints and stuff like that, but at least they're reaching out for us. So I think we got 19 kids play flag football in Jeff City and 9 in Owensville. So that's 28 kids right there. So before we even get started, so.
And I know Mr. Jacobs is about to get very busy with school starting, so I think Mr. Garrett's kind of gonna start taking over some of.
Yeah, Billy's gonna come to the meeting tomorrow, and kind of take that. I still want to be a part, but kind of, these guys will kind of, because there'll be a lot of meetings I won't be able to go to, but,
And then
they'll be
don't
in good
communicate
hands.
with me what.
Yeah.
Plans.
But it's moving forward. The main thing is now just decide how we want to proceed with that field, so we get that going. Hopefully we get that plotted and seeded, or what, if we're going to do that this fall.
Yeah, when are you planning on moving those pits?
This field, when we get whatever we decide how we're going to do the field. And what we decided, thank you for bringing that up. What we decided, and we'll get final approval on this, but putting a long jump and triple jump back behind the field, softball field, baseball field here. That way we can run two. We could have two runways, so that would make us for district. Put pole vault in the other D zone, and then move shot put. We just went up there again today. We level out just a little bit below where you're throwing the disc, put shot put up there, which that would make throwers there, jumpers in the middle, or high jumpers, pole vaulters in the middle, and then long jumpers and triple jumpers on this side. So it will alleviate kind of that congested area, and it would make us allow, so we could host districts by having those runways. So we could be able to pull all those out. High jump would still stay here, and then move those other pits, which right now those pits aren't even the right length or anything right now, because don't they have to be 27, 23. So they love that. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 8.12, COVID procedure discussion.
You know, in June, things were great. The Delta variant hit. So a couple things that we need to decide is whether or not we're going to require masks at school. And then, as you know, there is a CDC federal mandate that masking is required on buses. So I know that is something that we wanted to discuss in open session, and so I am open for discussion. The one thing you do have in your packet that I just put in there because I just got it is the Osage County Health Department's guidance for K-12 schools. What they recommend is that we start at the moderate spread, which is yellow, which of course is identifying close contacts and whatnot. Deep cleaning, recommends students and staff wear a mask while indoors, space seating, limit field trips, non-essential visitors, and spectators wearing masks and things like that. Probably, I don't remember exactly what time, but it was late this afternoon when I got another
email from Kim Salen, and she said they are recommending that schools mask. It's up to each individual district. I believe as of right now, Chamois is requiring masks definitely on buses and then at hallways, but not in classrooms. And as of right now, Fatima is not requiring masking except for the bus.
Actually, they have their,
They have what? What'd you say?
they have their meeting tomorrow.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah. I had a suspicion.
It's the CDC order, and it basically says that everyone has to wear a mask when they're traveling, and those that are operating buses are supposed to not allow anyone on the bus that doesn't wear a mask, and they're supposed to kick anyone off if they take off their mask. And they put that out in January. I don't know if the reason we're talking about it now is just because there's cases that are spiking, so if there's like some degree to which this is for us to decide how much liability or how much we want to take on if we're really interested in kicking students off the buses if they're not going to wear their masks.
So what our attorneys have said is that they recommend that we put a mask mandate in place on the bus. So we provide masks for our students, and we do our very best to make sure they're masked on the bus, but we also still have an obligation to provide them a free, appropriate public education, which means transportation is part of that. So we don't have a plan that we're going to kick kids off the bus or keep them from getting on the bus if not masked, but we would address those then on an individual basis with the students and the parents if they didn't mask on the buses. The part that is greatly concerning to me about not following that mandate is one, the legal liability that you risk. And two, they haven't said for sure. They have alluded to the fact that that could cost us federal money, including ESSER money. So if we don't follow the CDC mandate, they could pull.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Now, again, they haven't said they are for sure going to. They have alluded to that as a possibility.
Just for the buses,
Just for the buses, because it's a CDC.
And I don't think you can take the chance that they would see it. And that, I mean, whatever we put in the media, we need to say we're requiring masks, or don't say anything about it at all. And we require masks.
And it's pretty much the same status where we were at last year, required masks on transportation.
They did the second semester over here though.
We did first semester, we did
Yeah.
not second semester on
It's the first semester. It was,
We did.
we did, right?
on buses.
I remember that.
That's what I'm confused about is if this came about in January, we didn't follow it the second semester of the last one.
And so schools across the state have said, why were we not notified of this in January? We didn't know that that mandate had been put out in January. We didn't find out about it at schools until DESE sent us a memo in July saying this has been mandated by the CDC and schools must follow this. So the reason we didn't follow it second semester is none of us knew about it.
Yeah, I was saying, if you get on, we rode a bus, like a shuttle, just a shuttle from the airport, and they actually had masks on the shuttle. Anytime we got public transportation. So that,
Yeah, I think airplanes, all of those, I think.
oh, yeah.
Are required. And again, whether they do or don't, we won't know until it happens, but I'm not necessarily wanting to risk $690,000 in ESSER funds. Say, no, we're not gonna follow this.
I just feel like we should strongly encourage them to wear masks on the bus, but I just don't feel like the bus drivers aren't paid well enough, and I just logically, the idea of, if they're not wearing a mask when they're here, we can encourage it. The bus has the windows down and there's stuff blowing all over. I don't really, it's pretty much like being outside.
What's Rudolph say about it? You talking to them?
I have talked to them. Obviously, they're not thrilled about it. I think the difference between not requiring it or requiring it on the bus, but not requiring it here is there is a CDC federal mandate that they have to write it on, or they have to wear it on the bus. There's not one that they have to wear it at school. Now, do I expect the bus drivers to just be watching constantly to make sure they have their mask on? Absolutely not. They need to be paying attention to driving. But if we know that there are kids who are consistently not following it, then that's up to us as administrators to address those kids on an individual basis and or their parents. You know, when a kid gets on the bus and they don't have a mask, the driver can, I mean, they'll have them right there. They can hand them one and then send them to their seat, tell them they have to put it on. But I don't expect them to watch the whole time they're on the bus to see if they keep it on. There's no way they can do that and drive safely. But it's my belief that we have to mandate it to follow the CDC guidelines or risk more than I think we want risk at this point.
I have a handbook here that comes from the Department of Education. And it was updated April 2021. And they're saying maintaining mandatory, consistent, correct use of masks by adults and children while on a school bus and at arrival departure points, e.g. bus stops, except for individuals who cannot safely wear a mask. Bus drivers should be provided with extra masks to make available in case a student does not have one. That's from the U.S. Department of Education.
CDC order also says that bus drivers should throw people off for not wearing masks. And my biggest concern with this is both the enforcement piece of it and the fact that really parents should be making decisions for their kids about how to keep them safe. They can be deciding if they're going to get them vaccinated. They can decide if they want to do virtual learning this year. I don't know how we could both be required to make sure that everybody has access to transportation to get to school at the same time as telling parents that they have to have a mask on their kids. Because I think we have two competing. I mean, we obviously have a duty to provide education to kids and to make sure that they are achieving it. We also want them to be safe, but this is a personal freedom and personal choice issue also, and how we make sure that they achieve while also having some options. I think we should strongly recommend that students wear them, but in terms of the enforcement of a mandate, I don't know how we would enforce that without infringing on the rights of kids.
Yeah, but unmasked kids on a bus are infringing on those that might catch something from them too. The bus is probably the only place where you have the closest contact with other people. As you're going down the aisle or.
In the classrooms.
We have talked about as administrators, really working with our teachers to try to come up with alternative seating arrangements. For example, maybe instead of seating them in rows, we're going to seat them in pods of 3 to 4. So if that kid is positive, we're only quarantining those 3 kids in that pod. We even talked about maybe setting them in a semicircle. So instead of having to quarantine people in front, behind, both sides, and diagonal, you're only quarantining people right beside them. So we really are going to work with our staff on trying to come up with alternative seating arrangements in the classroom. None of us like the mask mandate. I hate it. It's worry legally and monetarily. If we don't go with the federal mandate, I think we run the risk of losing money and or finding ourselves.
And you're right, I don't see the bus driver throwing kids off there, but all the buses are equipped with cameras. So all you have to do is review the camera and
We're not gonna go back and review cameras and see what kids are wearing a mask and what weren't.
I'll put you in charge of that.
The other thing that,
I get the
We've
enforcement
also
part, but
been-
I don't have a problem with saying, hey, here's the mask mandate, just to basically save ourselves here. If the kids follow it, we can always go back and say, look, man, we had it. I'm sorry, we just couldn't enforce it that well. We just have a bunch of kids that just don't want to listen. I mean,
the other
But
thing that
I'm
I
just saying, we
think
gotta,
needs to be considered is music.
Something
Our
down.
insurance provider has also said that if we don't follow the mandate and end up in a lawsuit, they will not cover.
nothing says we have to be super pro enforcement of it. I mean,
I think in this case, less is more here. I mean, I think we should just move on. I mean, you have a good feel for what the board thinks. I mean, we're not in favor of it, but we understand you have to enforce federal law. And so I don't know that we want to do a vote up or down or anything.
I don't know that everybody agrees with that, so I want to know.
I think the more we talk, the more you're going to get to a point where you have
I
to
don't
have
think
a
you
very
choice
strict
on this.
mask mandate.
Yes. This is a different situation. Right. I agree.
I'm just saying we need to do it just to cover ourselves. Like I said, there's a lot of laws out there that I can enforce. I don't enforce every one of them every day.
Right.
So, you know.
Would you tell me what you want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us
Yeah. That was probably a bad. I didn't say that out loud. That was hypothetical.
You did say that on YouTube.
Yeah. I forgot we're on live. I enforce every law that I can every day. There we go.
So as far as masking in schools, are we still in agreement that we will highly encourage it? But it's an individual choice, whether you do or do not.
Yeah, and I think all I'd ask, and I don't know how everybody else feels, before we do a mask mandate, that we would meet again as a board.
Absolutely, yeah.
As long as we have that assurance, I think, again, we
I
just
would
move on.
say until unless we have like a huge spike of it.
Right.
All of a sudden.
And that's what we did last year. We met as a board and discussed that we were having an issue. And,
You provide masks, you did,
yes,
if they wanted to have masks.
yes. The health department has backed off and said that we no longer have to use the surgical masks. They can use cloth masks if they want to, but we do have the surgical masks available if they want to use that.
Thank you for having the discussion.
And we are asking people to provide vaccination, proof of vaccination if they've had it, so that if we do end up having to quarantine, we have to get vaccinated.
Can I ask one other question while we're on the topic of COVID? The virtual learning provider, is that someone that we used last year? Did we have a mix of teachers and an outside provider? And how did, I'm guessing that didn't work well, that we're just going with an outside provider this time?
There's a couple of reasons. Yes, we had a mix. At the elementary, it was solely an outside provider. So launch was the outside provider at the elementary. At the high school, we had a mixture. We had some kids that did through launch and some kids that Skype, not the right word, but video conferenced into their classrooms every day. A couple of reasons that is not what we're recommending this year. One, it's truly a hardship on our teachers to try to do your regular classroom, try to keep your virtual kids involved, try to see if they have questions, keep up with, okay, did you turn this assignment in? Okay, that may have been a week ago that we did it, but you're just now getting it in. So it was really a logistical issue for our teachers. The other reason is that DESE has come out now and said that if we are going to do some version of our own, we have to go through the same standard of approval that those outside providers go through. And so we have to fill out basically an approval packet, and then they would have to come in and approve what we're doing virtually.
Is the cost for the outside provider similar to what we get per student for teaching them, or is it less?
Yes,
or-
they cannot charge, as part of the MOVIP program, which is Missouri Virtual Instructional Program, they are limited to what they can charge, based on the per pupil expenditure. And that can be, again, taken out of this. Or
How many students have signed up for that so far?
maybe we have two,
Two,
0.
0 in elementary, but 2 in high school.
The rate that launch is administered by Springfield School District.
Franklin Public School District, yeah.
You said that we were asking about it before that, I mean, basically, that's something we have to provide anyway. COVID, no COVID, it's just a thing that we have to
Right.
make available, right?
Right, back in 2018, they passed that as a state statute that you have to make virtual education an option for kids. And it just wasn't as widely known then because
No one's using it.
no one was using it. It's just more widely known now, but that's been in place since 2018.
It's interesting.
And it's had to be on school website advertised since then too. So there's a word on our school website on it.
Okay. Moving on to announcements. Our next regular board meeting will be September 21st. And in the business of the open session, if I can have a motion to adjourn the closed session.
I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss topics allowed in 61.021 RSMO, 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3.
Motion by Ty. Second by Lori. Roll call vote, Mark. Lori. Anna.
Yes.
Naomi.
Yes.
Ty.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Yes for me. Adjourn the closed session.